Welcome back. This week, the WWF wrestlers were in the country while the Bangalore High Court reserved its judgment on a PIL calling for banning the wrestlers from performing. The controversy over what has become one of the world's biggest entertainment acts shows no signs of ending. Deepa Kamath and Parvesh Sharma now take a ringside view at WWF and its impact on children.
These children are engaged in what psychologists call imitative behavior. A whole generation of children tuned in to cable television are hooked on to a whole new and some say dangerous fix, the world of WWF wrestling. It's a world where war is war, a world where 6 punch knockouts through the ring.
The children love the competition, they love the showmanship. There's a lot of showmanship in professional wrestling. It's not like high school, two men come out with little striped shirts and wrestle on a mat.
That the WWF has crossed national boundaries is apparent. In Bangalore this week, kids seem drawn to the big men.
I like Rock because he's very nice and he has a lot of style in him and he can wrestle very nicely.
In its original home in the United States, professional American wrestling is today a leading form of entertainment. It always means soaring television ratings. But now, even in urban India, names like Stone Cold Steve, The Rock and Triple H are part of regular vocabulary for many cable-watching children.
They're like supernatural beings. They do the backflip, the spinning kicks, what do you call, like the Bronco Busters, Rock Bottom.
Do you ever worry that they're getting hurt?
The way they build up, it looks like they never get hurt. So I don't worry much about that.
And yet the violence, which is so much a part of the WWF package, could have dangerous side effects. Numerous studies, like a new one conducted by the Center for Advocacy and Research, have linked increased aggression in children to the viewing of violent acts on television. Their most recent study done in Delhi showed that over 35% of children had regular, free and unconditional access to TV. Disturbingly, almost 45% of all children in the survey have unrestricted access to TV viewing. And for street children and those in slums, the most popular genre is unquestionably that which involves action.
The smaller they are, the more addicted and the more, avid they are as watchers. They're not only avid watchers, they're also very obvious, but let's say imitators.
And that exactly is what's bothering an increasing number of parents.
My son, who is really a WWF addict, I should say, he wakes up in the morning, he goes straight to the newspapers, scrutinizes the second page of the newspaper and sees where he can see the capital WWF. Immediately notes down the timing as to when they are going to telecast this program.
But program providers in India think that the sport is more in the nature of mass entertainment and not even close to the other kinds of violence beamed out on television.
Finally, The Rock has come back to Baltimore.
It's got an element of glamour attached to it, which is, I guess, what makes it so fanciful among people. But I would not rate it as a hugely negative violence on somebody's mind.
And now, you will finally smell what The Rock. Is cooking.
Whatever the outcome of this debate, what's clear is that the WWF phenomenon is not going away in a hurry. It's here to stay, kids love it, and what is probably needed is greater control on what they see and how much of it they can be allowed to. With Deepa Kamath, Parvesh Sharma, Star News.
Well, joining us now for much less violent face-off is Mr. Govind of the World Wrestling Forum. It's a Bangalore-based organization which is responsible, which wants to spread American wrestling in India, and also Anita Ghai, a psychologist. She's a member of the Viewers Forum in New Delhi. Thank you both very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure joining you.
Mr. Ram, let me start by asking you, what we just saw, how can you really call it a sport? We see the wrestlers beat up the referee when they get angry. There's no question of fair play. Even who wins is decided by who's really the more flamboyant, who's louder. How is it a sport?
Well, I would say it's a sports entertainment. The first part being sports, it is a very well-renowned sports all the way back in US, in India, and other parts of the world.
There's nothing in common with Indian wrestling and this.
India is one of the biggest wrestling places where we had way back in the 1960s, the very renowned wrestler Mr. King Kong. Now, he inspired most of the American wrestlers too.
Let me just get Ms. Ma'am in here. You are a member of the Viewers Forum. What's your principal objection to WWF? Is it the impact that you believe it will have on children? What's your principal problem with it?
No, I think our objection is not only to WWF, but to all sorts of programming which have a, content is so very violent in nature that, unless children are monitored, the kind of psychological impact that it can have on them can be devastating. You see, because you think it's mock violence, you think it's entertainment. Children are internalizing every bit of it. There are children who are 2 years old, 3 years old, hooked onto television. It's so difficult to take them off.
What's your answer to that? This is a criticism you probably have heard.
Exactly. This is a very, very common criticism believing in Bangalore when I had. Now, children of 2 years and 3 years, when they get hooked onto TV, I suppose it's not your responsibility, not my responsibility, but the parents who are supposed to fix a timetable for children. Seeing the age of 2 or 3 years who are coming up to the TV and owning themselves, I think the remote should be in the hands
Do you
of
think
the parents.
WWF should be watched by children?
It is basically made for children,
But isn't
as
that-
of entertainment part of it.
But isn't that odd? You're seeing two grown men beating each other up, using chairs, trampling on each other, and you're saying it's meant for children.
Basically, when children watch movies like Superman, Spider-Man, He-Man, what we are trying to promote is also connected to something like He-Man, a well-known body, a perfect fit of a physique, where people don't get influenced and go for cigarette smoking and alcohol, but go straight to the gym and start working out, take the influence of these big, great bodies and trying to make their bodies like that.
That's actually a good influence, you say. Justify another crime. And violence has flown in directly from Indian cinema to the television. Now, I won't say WWF is the only one. Cartoon Network, which is supposedly very safe, is highest on violence. And parents seem to kind of, be bewildered, actually, because they don't really know what exactly is happening.
So are cartoons more dangerous than WWF for children?
They can be equally, or if not more, dangerous, because they are allowed to watch them more. WWF, there might be a controversy.
But
So, some parents might stop them also.
But Ms. Guide, there comes the crucial question. Why not have parental guidance rather than stop the sport altogether?
I think I would say not only parental guidance, there has to be some kind of a media guideline. There has to be some kind of programming code of ethics. You cannot go beyond a certain level. I mean, after all, it's not a simple problem which will have a simple solution. It is a complicated problem. And as a result, I think the intervention strategy has to be a more broad-based. You just cannot throw the responsibility onto the parents who are as bewildered as all of us are. They keep coming to the psychologists and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's such a simple thing. It has to be a very broad-based interventional strategy where there's a policy making, there's media, all of and such forums involved.
Mr. Ram, we've seen other serials during controversy had actually captions saying that this is being done, it's an act, it's not actually real life or whatever. Now, WWF in fact says that all this violence is real, that all this actually happens and these people magically don't get hurt. Is it mock violence we're seeing?
Well, I'm glad this question has come up. Basically, the children up to 90% know that this is a sport which is practiced very well off before the show. Basically, the reality of throwing is, of course, nobody can stop it. It has been a real chair taking and throwing on them. As I saw a kid on your interview who says they are built in such a way that they do not hurt each other, which inspires them to also build in that way.
I think I would have, a difference of opinion out here, because I think children have great difficulty knowing what is real and what's fantasy. And many times, they are so egocentric, and the level of empathy is not so great that, it can take over, and, they are simply left at the mercy
we must
of...
end, I'm afraid, there, because we're out of time completely. Obviously, WWF is here to stay, but it must take place under certain guidelines. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, why heroines in Bollywood are now content, often doing just one song in the film.
We'll speak to the Chaya Chaya girl, Malaika Arora, after the break.
मेरा 50 हजार